What's up guys, JohnOrigins here. Today got a Pokemon Showdown replay in the NU tier, and I'm using a team that I made ages ago. I really liked it, but then I didn't use it again. So I brought it back and I've got this replay for you, and this replay was actually a really good game for me, so that's why I'm bringing it to you. And I think it shows off how the team works fantastically. As you're looking at it, it looks kind of like a balanced squad that focuses around sweeping with Klinklang, because Klinklang is a menace and I loved using it in 5th gen. I believe it was RU, so in here in NU it should be dominating quite easily. I got Zoom Lens, Rotom Frost. It does have Trick on it, but that's because it used to be Choice Specs, but I changed it to Zoom Lens because I kept missing my attacks and I wasn't having it. And then we have Physically Defensive Quillfish, Especially Defensive Mega Ordino. It acts as my Cleric, it's not a Calm Minder. We have Physically Defensive Uxie with Memento and my Stealth Rocker. And then we have Thick Fat Hariyama because Typhlosion and other fire spam things are a problem. Looking at my ways to victory, I could potentially win with Klinklang if I can get some damage off on that Weezing or potentially set up on it. I also need to get rid of that Mega Camera up because that could be an issue. His team in general is actually kind of scary because he does have that Mantine, which is an issue. Helios is always problematic, and I don't actually physically have anything to really take on Mega Camera up. It does a really good amount of damage to my Hariyama, so it's pretty scary. But anyway, let's get into the game. Let's see how we do. I'm going to lead off with my Rotom as he leads off with his Piloswine. I am just going to go straight for the Will-O-Wisp as he ends up making a good play, goes out into his camera up to eat that up. I obviously cannot stay in here, so I'm going to switch out into my Hariyama, who should be able to take on this camera up okay, especially if he goes for the Fire Blast, because I have Thick Fat. But even with Thick Fat, that does 25%, which is pretty scary. I switch out here into my Uxie. I did this for two reasons. One was predicting the Weezing to come out, so I get my Stealth Rocks for free. And then secondly, if he wanted to go for the Air Power, I could switch into this and then U-turn out into something more suitable and maybe try and get some momentum on my side. Maybe bring in that Quillfish and get off some waterfall damage on that camera. Because realistically, the only way I can take out that Weezing is via a Blizzard on a switch-in from Rotom or from Waterfall coming from Quillfish on this team. So, gotta watch out for that. As I end up making a really good play there, Weezing is forced out, so I can get my Stealth Rocks for free. And now what I can do is U-turn, get a little bit of chip damage off on that camera, switch out into my Hariyama, hopefully to take the attack pretty well. And he ends up missing the Fire Blast, which actually sucks for him because Earth Pad is a lot. I think it does about 40%. He might do a bit more to my Hariyama. I'll provide a calc, but I'll go for the knockoff here, anticipating a switch out into his Weezing, which is great because now his Weezing is weakened and it doesn't have any forms of reliable recovery, so I'm looking fantastic here. As I'm going to switch out into my Quillfish because I see this as a perfect opportunity for me to go for my hazards, because what I need to do is hazard stack and then Klinklang can come in late game and win the game. So I'm going to go for a couple of layers of spikes. He ends up going for the Pain Split, which does suck, but if I get my Klinklang behind a sub, it shouldn't really matter too much. Go for my second layer of spikes, and here I'm just going to go for the Taunt on this Mantine so it can't go for the Defog. The one thing I need to do throughout this entire game is stop that Mantine from getting in for free and stopping it from going for the Defog, and Quillfish is one of my main ways to do that, so as long as I can keep my Quillfish in or keep up offensive pressure, I should be okay. As I'm going to bring in my Rotom Frost on the predicted Air Slash, and I'm going to go for the Blizzard, anticipating the camera to come in, and after Spikes and Stealth Rocks, he's going to take a huge amount of damage from that Blizzard. Do a solid 50%. I'm able to 2-hit KO him, and because my Rotom hasn't switched up moves yet, he thinks I'm choice, so he's going to bring in his Piloswine. And what I can do here is actually just go for the Will-O-Wisp, because I'll just weaken its Earthquake and Ice Shard potentially. And then on the following turn, I'm actually going to go for the Trick. As I said in the pre-game talk, that this used to be Choice Spec, and I forgot to change its move from a Trick. I might put Hidden Power Water on it for camera up, so I ended up getting the Trick off there, which was very, very good for me. Piloswine has been crippled. Ordino, you might have thought that plays a bit weird then. I got forced out into my Ordino, and then I doubled back out into my Rotom. This was purely because Ordino is one of those things that can easily get defogged on. I cannot stop a defog if I'm in with my Ordino, but I can bring in my Rotom, and just in case the Mantine comes in, then I can go for the Volt Switch. I can keep up the offensive pressure on that Mantine so it can't defog. Unfortunately, he just goes straight for another Roar, which is fine with me. I do have Regenerate on my Ordino, so it's not a big deal. And my Rotom Frost is still at a decent range of HP, so I don't mind it switching in and out like this currently. So So yeah, that'll just be being careful, trying not to get the hazards removed from my side of the field. But anyway, yeah, let's continue on. My Rotom forced out here, and I believe it goes out into my Quillfish, which is perfectly okay with me. I can set up my third layer of hazards. I can go for the waterfall, do some good damage to this Piloswine, especially because it's lost its Eviolite. Even if I am burnt, I can definitely live an Earthquake from this because he is burnt and at -1 attack. I live it easily, and then I'm going to go for the waterfall on this following turn, as he ends up going for the Roar, which was a weird play. It really was, and I'll explain in a few seconds why it's a weird play. Because as he brings in the Mantine here, I can now bring in my Quillfish and sack it as death fodder after I go for the fake out, so that he cannot go for the defog, meaning that the hazards should be here to stay for the rest of the game, helping me take out his Virizion and Helios. So I'm going to sack my Quillfish here, and that's where the Roar was a weird play, because if he had just went straight out for the attack, I probably would have been in a bit better position. Maybe it's a kind of weird 50-50 scenario that it would have put us into, but if he actually just went and taken out my Quillfish, we would have both gone down to burn. On the double down, I would have brought in my Rotom Frost, as he probably brought in his Mantine, and that's where the 50-50 would have come in. If he didn't bring in the Mantine, my Rotom Frost has took a lot of Stealth Rocks damage, and I think it would only have one switch after that. And if he brought in Virizion, he could potentially outspeed my entire team and do a lot of damage to most of it outside of my Uxie. So he could potentially get a defog off in a future scenario, but because of him allowing my Quillfish to stay alive, I've Death Fodder here. The Mantine can't go for the defog, and I'm actually looking in an amazing position because he has no immunities to electric now. So what I can do is bring in my Rotom. I think this Volt Switch is either a roll or close to be, because I know my Volt Switch only did like 85% to a Mantine when I was specs before, so it's probably a close to KO kind of scenario there. I'm definitely going to do a calc for that one. And here I can bring in my Audino because it can be used as pivot, because I still have the Regenerator up. Audino is actually done fantastic here, getting the free switch into my Uxie. And what I can do here is set up the game, hopefully, on this Weezing. I'm going to go for my Thunderwave first, I believe, just to cripple it a bit, just to allow the hacks to be on my side a little bit. And then I'm going to go for the Memento. The Memento! And lower his attack and special attack by 2 stages, meaning that I can get a free switch into my Klinklang. Now, he does go for the Flamethrower there, but I'm pretty sure the Flamethrower wouldn't be able to break my substitute. But he gets paralyzed, so I'll never know, unless I calc it, of course. But here I can set up the shift gear, get up to +2, and that pretty much signals the end of the game. All I've successfully done here is put up the hazards to where none of his Pokemon can live and attack successfully, and I've made sure hazards have stayed up on the field. I've got rid of the checks and counters, Piloswine, Camerupt. I've kind of weakened Weezing a little bit and I've crippled it. So what can happen here is my Klinklang can just come in late game and provide the sweep. I think I kept up offensive momentum quite well. I pivoted well when I needed to. I even made the unnecessary plays to try and keep up the pressure as well, which all helped in gaining the victory. And I think it was just a very solid game that shows off the team pretty well. I really like this team. I just like the look of it. Quillfish is one of my favourite physically defensive mons. Klinklang is a fantastic sweeper, and Mega Audino is just brilliant. And with Steelix potentially leaving the tier soon, Mega Audino is going to get a lot of use, I think, because it is very, very powerful, very deadly, and can set up on a lot of things. And has access to Heal Bell while it's Calm Mining as well. It's great, and even has a Claricat as well, pivot. Oh, fantastic. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this replay, feel free to leave a like, rating, comment, and subscribe. I've been JohnOrigins, and I'm out. So bears.